Last Saturday night, we had a live stream in which I remote viewed the home of Nancy Guthrie. During the viewing, I saw a few shadows, and a few shadows is very true. Now, they weren't shadow people. They were not, I'm going to say, human born. They were placed there on purpose. It had nothing to do with the ancient grounds that are there in Arizona and in Tucson. It had everything to do with Nancy Guthrie's home. Do I know who sent them? Well, let me give you a little hint, and that is someone who had dark, evil power and intention to send them to her. Now, why would they do that? Well, when you send evil shadows, not spirits, shadows, they can manipulate things. Things can move. You can, I don't know, maybe if it happens a lot, it could resemble that maybe you're forgetful, or that they want to watch behind the scenes and report to whomever sent them. Why would you do that? Well, what if you had a plan, or what if you had an agenda? And then all of a sudden, an opportunity may have come up in which you had, I'm going to say, the wherewithal to make a little dough. And you were hired by someone that may be of bigger consequence, because, you know, when you get up to those levels, nobody takes responsibility, and it's the little guy that falls. So the idea is that, and I mean, none of this is funny, and this happens to more people than what you would think, because this is the beginning of sending someone that could do someone's evil bidding. Now, do I believe that was the intention of sending shadows to Nancy? No. I think it was to watch what she was doing behind the scenes. Who was she talking to? What was the conversations? And don't think those things don't happen, because they certainly do. And especially if you've done this a long time, and if you go back and see the session, that device that I use to read, well, it's impressions from the energy from the house, said a decade. They've been there for a while. Do they wear out, and can they be replaced? Yes. Yes, they can. And yes, they do kind of sort of fizzle out. And keep in mind, these are not entities. These are shadows that were conjured to send. They have not been human born, will they? They do not have an expressed consciousness. They know exactly what they're there for. They do their bidding, and that's it. That's why when I showed up, they were very curious, and they were extremely, well, again, curious. We're going to just say that. They were not there to hurt me. And they couldn't hurt me if they tried, but they were not there to hurt me. Most left. There were 3 left at the time of the end of the live. And at the end of the live stream, I spent the next 12-ish hours working with the house energy. And finally, I believe they were gone. Now, I haven't looked, because I don't spend my time looking into homes and doing this. I would be worn out, because it's very tiring. So they may have replaced them again, but I believe that they were there for a purpose. Now, I'm going to give you an idea and a sketch of what they are, but I also have something to tell you that I think is going to be of interest to you here in just a moment, just to kind of give you that timeline of, well, is this coincidence or is this not coincidence? So right now, let's talk about these shadows. And I'm going to use a few little tools here. I've got a little protractor type, well, it's a little ruler type thing. And So let's just say this is a room of Nancy's. All right. I'm not measuring anything, whatever, not right now. And we'll just put a ceiling here, and here's the floor. Now, let's just say there is a doorway here. Okay? And you would go in right here. As I was looking, and there'd be some furniture and whatever. As I was looking, I could see the shadows. They had a little bit of form. Okay? They had a little bit of form. That's what I could tell. So it wasn't as though, well, the sun is setting, the sun is rising, because I don't think it happens like that. Not the way that Nancy's house is located, based on maybe she gets a few, maybe she gets a few. Uh-oh, my pencil broke. Let me get another one. Did you like the way I said pencil? Just like Popeye, just like Popeye. Here we are. I'll have to sharpen that guy. So here we are. So this, and the edges of these shadows are very sharp. They're not like shadows that come in at the different times of the day. So that's how I knew they were conjured. Because see, and I've got a little, if they were, see, you can go through here and just kind of work this through. But if this were a shadow that was based on the time of day, then the edges would be fuzzy, just like this, see? But they were not that way. There were several of them. And the house expressed to all of us, you were there watching, if you did, you could see that there were a group of them. Now, the energy doesn't lie. Do I believe this? Yes. Do I believe that something was going on with Nancy Guthrie's home? Yes, and I believe for a long time. Because something is not right. Something is not right. I don't care what anyone says, but I think that most of you are in agreement that this was just not this normal. And believe me, kidnappings are not normal. They're horrible and horrific, but it was not a kidnapping as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'm not law enforcement. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a forensic investigative tarot profiler. From what I understand, this started out as someone just walking off, as far as it's been reported to me. They just thought maybe Nancy left on her own accord. But I have a lot of questions, because this is a woman, from what I understand that the family said, can hardly walk 50 feet. Now, I think the sheriff actually said that. So there's miscommunication here. So this is the first guy that I saw. Now, they're no longer there, but I want you to imagine, because they were all shapes and all size. They were all shapes, and they were curious. They were curious. What is she doing here? Why is she here? And they were floating. As I was going from room to room, they were floating behind me, room to room. Some of them didn't. The leader did. There was one, because you always need a leader. Because if not, then you don't have a semblance of order. These things also work on energy. It's physics, okay? These are also energy beings, these shadows, and they were conjured from other energy and moved on. Again, not spirit, not entity, These are shadows. They don't have a particular intelligence, and they were never human born. They were not attached to anything except Nancy's energy and the home energy. That's where this is. I was shocked. I'm just going to tell you, I was totally shocked. Now, if these would have been here placed by the house, or placed, I'm just going to say, someone who doesn't practice dark arts, and it's kind of rare. If these were placed by anyone other than this dark, and you have to have someone dabbling into the dark arts to have something like this happen. But if not, let's just say the house conjured these up, which probably would be an impossibility, but let's just say they would have been there to protect Nancy, because that energy that the house has, Nancy loved that home. Her family grew up in that home. She loved it. So energy will gravitate to you. Energy will gravitate because they know your vibe. Okay? Now here's something that I want to share with you. Because I've seen some comments say, but Zelda, and I love the comments, except for those who are nasty. I don't know why you do it, but anyway, I love the comments. And do me a favor, like and subscribe while you're at it. The whole idea, and you know my theory, and I'm just going to put it like this. Here's we're just going to draw a line. Give me my marker here. We're going to draw the line here. Because a lot of these things bleed over into one side or not. I like to do the Benjamin Franklin lists. They're kind of like a pro and con, but this is different in a way. This is kind of that social network target, but not so much. But we're going to make it a quadrant here. So say this is, we have Nancy right up here. All right. Now, what Nancy, let's just say the interview. I want to talk about the interview again in 2019. And these were with victims. And it was on NBC. The victims of a particular island guy, not Gilligan. So we have that happen. And then things start happening. Ginny, one of the girls that she interviewed. Now, I'm not blaming Savannah. This is Nancy, but I'm talking Savannah, and I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. This is Savannah. I did say Nancy. My bad. Savannah, NBC. Savannah interviewed Ginny, who was part of the victimology, I can say that, of the island guy, along with others. Ginny ended up having a very bad accident and survived, and then ended up having a very bad accident and did not survive. And some people seem to say that it was self-induced, which, I mean, everybody's entitled to what they believe. But, okay, then over here, okay, things start happening with an ex-prince of the UK, and he was arrested for the same thing. He got his little bracelets on his birthday. And then the Clintons, I can say that because they did go in front of Congress and they were asked things, including about pizza. Now, We talked about the pizza thing before. I'm just going to tell you. They talked about pizza. There's a particular phrase that goes along with that. If some of you don't understand, I'm not going to answer you in the comments, all right? Maybe others could. But it's a phrase that some of people used to describe things. Parties. I'm going to leave it at that. Now, something very, very interesting has happened. Of course, the Clintons said that they didn't do anything, and they left Congress, okay? They left that meeting, and then the prince says he didn't do anything. And then here we go. I'm gonna just share some things that I think that are interesting. I saw JLR, and I keep talking about him because it's not about him, it's what he stands for as far as Nancy Guthrie, all right? Everybody has a past, I don't care. But JLR has been out there. He's been sitting in front of Nancy's home. He's been sitting in parking lots. It's been very uncomfortable, and he's there, boots on the ground. Somebody has shown up, and last night I saw it, and because I was like, Somebody showed up, and it was a pizza delivery. Now, I had pizza delivery last week. It doesn't mean the same thing. But here's where I think it's odd. They did not pay, whoever ordered it did not pay for it before they sent it to JLR. Now, what does that mean? Well, I think it might be kind of a calling card. That's my opinion. It may be this, yeah, we see what you're doing. This is we got your number. We know. Now, am I saying anything's going to happen? No, I don't. But why would somebody send a pizza out and it was $43? Why would anybody send a pizza out to somebody that was not paid for? Especially if you're supporting them. You pay for the pizza. If you pay for it through DoorDash, it didn't come through DoorDash. It came through a pizza shop. And that poor delivery driver, he didn't know. He ended up taking it back. And I don't believe this is the first time it's happened. And it may not be the last. Now, the delivery young man said that they felt they knew who it was. But why would you do that? Well, because that pizza phraseology fits into the island guy and to this guy. Okay? I'm getting to the point that I'm making. Now, here we are. Let's do a little countdown on January 30th of 2026. That was a significant day. It sure was. Why? Because the DOJ dropped 3.5 million documents of Epstein. Yes, I could say it because that's what happened and that's fact. Then, January 31st of 2026, Nancy goes to her little party for food and games and so forth. February 1st, Nancy is missing. Do you think that is coincidence? Because I still want to back up for those of you tuning in. In December and in January, there were hits, searches made to Google Trends by someone for Nancy Guthrie, looking for images, looking for pictures, looking for addresses, looking for all those things in several days. January 11th stands out as one of the days that she was being looked for, and this was coming from Grand Junction, Colorado. The sheriff was contacted. The sheriff put out a BOLO alert. That's be on the lookout, because there was some suspicious activity, I believe, I can't remember, but around Delta. There's many things you can go back and take a look and see. But do I feel there's a coincidence in those dates? Yeah, but you're saying, but Zelda, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they want Nancy? Why wouldn't they? Because Savannah pushed these people that were being interviewed, and so did NBC. And they did it for the clicks and the ratings. Somebody was hurt. We've got arrests. More things are coming. And then, because beforehand, JLR was out at front of Nancy's, and there was a pizza delivery guy that went up to the front door of Nancy's. Now, I'm sorry, if you live there, you pretty much know what's going on. And then he came back, and somebody had sent that. One of the viewers had sent that. So, it has to originate from somewhere. Do I feel that there probably is a connection? Well, it's my opinion. It's my opinion. So now what? We have all this on this side. Now what? Well, how does that transcribe into these shadows? Well, first of all, the home said that these shadows have been there for a decade. They were sent by someone who practices. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I know Wiccans that do not practice dark arts, that they are good people. So just because there's a particular label, I get labeled all the time, and I don't particularly subscribe to that type of thing. And know this, please subscribe here and hit the like button. Thank you. But somebody sent these into her home. It was a decade ago. 2019 wasn't a decade ago. It happened before 2019. So how did this come about? Well, let me say this. I believe this was a calling card to Savannah Guthrie. How? Well, she was married before to a Mark Archard. He was a British reporter. They met at the Michael Jackson trial. They got divorced, and then she remarried a gentleman by the name of Mark Feldman. Mark Feldman was a political advisor, and he advised the Clintons on some other things, as well as other particular people. He was approached by the island guy, not he, but the island guy approached the Clintons and asked for some type of a meet and greet with Savannah's husband, from what I understand. And he did not do it. Now, you have to have a particular knowledge, because Mark is considered to be a PR guy, but he's also considered to be a scrubber, which you go in and you scrub not so nice information from the internet. Why would the island guy want to talk to Savannah's husband? And then she does this, and I believe he probably thought it was some type of betrayal in some regard. And because of Ginny and because of this interview, some information came out that nobody ever heard. Thus, it started the ball running. Now, let's get back over here. We're over here. These shadows have been here for over a decade. They're looking in on Nancy. Someone who put them there had an agenda. That's why you do something like this dark and nasty. You want to look at someone. I'm not saying who did it, okay? It is someone who has access to dark arts. It is someone who had an agenda. They wanted to see all about Nancy. Yeah, this is esoteric stuff. 101, okay? So they wanted to see what was going on with Nancy because they had an agenda. What agenda? Could be financial. It could be anything, any reason whatsoever. Now, here's where the line gets drawn in the middle. Because we have two separate scenarios. We have this whole island guy trajectory. And then we have this whole thing with Nancy being gone. Well, why would they take Nancy? Why would they take Nancy? Why hasn't there been any other reporters get victims on and talk to that extent? Because they see, bet you 10 to 1 Brian Etten wouldn't do it. I bet you Ashley Banfield wouldn't do it. Megyn Kelly, I bet you. Because they know there's an inherent risk. And NBC, I blame them for a lot, in my opinion, because they put Nancy out there on the internet, and now they're doing it to Carson Daly. That's another story. So who does this thing? Well, on this side of the table, who knows? Someone can say, look, we need to send a message. Now, this is hypothetical. I don't have the fact, but I'm setting you where I feel this theory sits. Someone could say, allegedly, supposedly, look, we got to send a message. Let's take Nancy, but we've got to find somebody that is familiar with her. We just can't send just any old Dodge in there. We have to know her home. We have to know her home floor plan. We have to know her surroundings, where she does, where she goes, how much, all this. And it needs to be set up as though maybe they thought they were going to set it up as a robbery. Maybe they set it up as something. All we know is that they made a lot of dumb mistakes, like saying that the back door was open. So my question now is, who was sent? Because it had to be someone, and the house energy basically said that it was an associate of Nancy. Well, somebody that would be associated with Nancy, close to her. I'm not saying who it is. What I'm saying is, I feel that happened. These people were hired, and then the shadows had been already there. They knew their job, and when the crime scene initially happened on January 31st, rolling into the morning of February 1st, and then by the time the sheriff got there, that crime scene had already been tainted for about 56 minutes. And then it had been tainted again, for about another day or two until the FBI came in. You see how this kind of works together? But I'm just totally convinced when the DOJ dropped those 3.5 million documents on January 30th, somebody got really nervous and they wanted to send a message. That's my thought. I don't have the fact, but that's my thought. Let's get the cards. Here we are back again. Please do me a favor, like and subscribe. I'm going to do a little... I'm going to do something what I like to call the raw deal. And you're going to see me do that. In the meantime, though, I want you to plan Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's New York time. The second episode of the second season of Help, I'm Haunted. Thursday night, I will be on Vale Keep. Friday night, I'm sorry, not Thursday night. That's Thursday night. Help, I'm Haunted. Then Friday night, Vale Keep. Saturday night, we will be doing something, and my live, I'm not sure yet, but I'll announce it. I don't know if I can do this again. It does take a lot of energy, but you never know. So this is how I do the raw deal system. I'm just going to put it that way. I shuffle the first deck. I've got the House of Zelda deck here. I shuffle the House of Zelda deck. And the raw deal is going to be this. I'm going to count out 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the raw deal. Same thing with this Piotnik deck. It's a little Lenormand deck. It's an Oracle deck. I hope y'all have been having a good weekend. It's been storming here the whole weekend, and you know what? I'm kind of glad. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The raw deal. We're asking the energy to show us the raw deal. What is that? What will it be? 2, 3, 4, 5. Last but not least, then I'll show you what we're going to do, my darlings. Also, if you're not subscribed, and I'll put a link here for True Oracle in the description. We're starting a new series, and it is the Lady Zelda Forbidden Readings. And these are kind of spooky. They're beyond spooky dating and marriage stories. They are readings, actual true readings that I've done in the past. I'm going to tell you all about them. Don't miss it. It will be a series, and hopefully I can drop it either tonight or tomorrow, at least the first couple. All right, look for that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First set. This is serious. Contact. Wisdom is needed. And it's time to look a little closer. We have to seek more wisdom. That's right. Now my question is, who did this? Who did this to Nancy? It's serious because of the contact. I think we really need to start thinking through things a little closer than normal. And yes, you're hearing my son in the background. People say, "Oh my gosh, I heard a noise." Yep. I don't live in a barn. Sometimes I wish I did, though. Do you ever feel like that? I love barns. Here we are. Who did this? It was for money, desire, and whoever it was felt they were going to get a new beginning by putting up this false front. That's how that works. You see this baby, it's a new beginning, but they had a desire. It's somebody who had a desire for more. I can't say what I really think because it is so sad. But it's somebody to have a desire for something of Nancy's. The judge, well, that's the court of public opinion. It could be that they are now being judged, and we're going to see this turn around because, quite frankly, this type of dark magic doesn't last long. 10 years maybe sounds a long time, but they have to renew. And hopefully the house now has a barrier around it and they cannot get back. Don't worry, they're not going to send anything to me. All right. Let's see what this is. Sacrifices. So someone who wanted financial stability, it was a partnership. A woman was involved. This is something that somebody just, they needed the thought of being needed, new job, new hobby, new opportunity coming. Yeah, but this is somebody who feels like they had a sacrifice, but there was domination. They dominated things. They dominated things. Did they dominate Nancy? The raw deal. There is the man and the woman and the yes card. So I think we're on the right track. And I think if you're thinking of a particular couple, you may not be wrong. This is somebody who wants to be fulfilled financially. This, look at this eye. They're being watched. But this is a sign that suspicion and sacrifice is all around Nancy's house and all around now her family. Because once again, do we hear a little peep? No, we don't hear anything. Now, obviously, law enforcement is probably saying, don't get on there, don't say anything. Well, you know what? How about somebody coming out and saying to these people who do go to Nancy's house and to her street, instead of threatening to arrest them, say thank you. Thank you. They've not asked the Guthrie family for one dime. Nobody has. I wouldn't take it if they tried to give it to me, and they won't. But don't you think it would be nice for all of the people who get up every day, who have Nancy at the forefront of their thoughts and prayers, and they go to bed at night, the same thing, and all day long they think and they research and they do all this stuff. What, you know, most of you out there are doing more. You're doing more than what the family has done. And again, I can't say it enough. If this were my mother, my mother would be right around, a little older than Nancy right now. But I would turn scorched earth and I wouldn't care. I would hire dog. If I had that kind of money, do you know that Savannah's husband is worth almost $6 million? You can't chop in or chip in maybe a couple $100,000 and get some trackers from Alaska, or you can get some dogs, or you can make some, what? What? You're just gonna go on? Hello. Okay, see ya, Mom. I'm going on a game show now. Yeah, my question is, what kind of a game is this? Because in all my years, I've seen some messed up things, but this is messed up. This is messed up. I think these people, this couple, were thinking that their ship would come in. But I do believe that there was some type of contact, but over here on this island guy's side that bled over onto this side, and you just never know. Now, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. But I'm going to tell you, I am very, very sus. And if this were me, I certainly wouldn't be hiding my face. I'd be protecting my children, because I have children. I would be doing that. But I would hold up my head high, knowing that I didn't do anything. And I would be leading the charge to find my mom. Instead, the show must go on. Yeah, I'm a little snarky today. Help from the cosmic unknown. We're hoping so. A thief. I believe this was somebody. They were trying to look out after themselves, because this right now, is a card of financial stability, their earned wealth. Whoever this couple was, they just felt that there was going to be some type of settlement come for doing this, and I feel that they didn't think that this was going to go as wrong as what it did, but I do believe that. And now we have this Joker, and you know about Jokers. The Joker, the worst hidden secret that you could possibly have. Yes, I believe this. It paints a picture. When will Nancy be found? If she's not found by anything about her is found by July 26th, their ideas, and that is because there's a planetary aspect that is coming up July 26th. And if they don't find her then, it may be a minute. There may be a way that that some things will really surface during a Mercury retrograde, and that is coming, and we'll talk about that when we get closer. I always feel that retrogrades on Mercury are really good because communications mess up with perps. Mistakes are found. Things surface to the top. So my darlings, thanks for being here. Hope to see you on Thursday night. I'll be seeing you on the True Oracle side. I appreciate you. I love you so much, and thanks for coming there and being so supportive this past Saturday. We're going to do more. But I can't I can't do a lot of crossovers. Like, well, let's do this case one day and let's do this case another. As far as remote, it's very tiring the way that I do it, but I'm always happy to do it for you. Thanks for watching. See you soon.